document that outlines that what would be the company objectives, strategies, policies, what would be the financial forecasts, which who serve as a tool and become a comprehensive roadmap for the business growth and development. They are crucial whether any particular person or an individual goes for a startup or just give a offshot of an existing business. This plan, it also helps to prepare the strategies on the launch and the growth of the business, which also outlines the direction and build a case to attract the investments. For startups, business plans plays a very significant role to secure funding from bankers, financial institutions, investors, venture capitalists, etc. But for established companies, business firms, always helps in a strategic planning, guide a long-term operations, and achieve the overall business goals of the firm or any organizations. The next section are the key components of a business plan. The first one is the executive summary. It is also important to describe the executive summary, which offers a concise overview of the entire business plan that highlights the key points, that gives a detailed overview of the subsequent sections of such summary. It also includes the business mission statement, proposed model, and the basic information about the leadership team. The next one is the business description. This part is also elaborates on what the business, you can say, does, its legal structure, its unique value proposition, and of course what the market needs, which aims to fulfill in an every way. The next one is the market analysis. The market analysis stage is also provide a detailed overview of the industry, the market environment, the target audience, and the comparative landscape. This also includes the demographics, market size, market trends, and of course the analysis of the competitors. The next component is the organizational structure. This section is also reflects the company organizational structure, departmental roles and responsibilities of the executive, what would be the management team and the departmental structures. The next component is a product or services. This section also describes the products or services which are offered by the company, including a detailed description of the product life cycle or any intellectual property rights or any research and development process on the any new product or service. Next is the marketing and the sales strategy. This part, it almost outlines the strategies for branding, marketing, sales approaches, or any customer acquisition. It also describes that how the product or service will be promoted to the target market. Next is a funding request. For startups and businesses seeking funding, this section is also reflects the amount of funding that but how much the funds to be required for the investment purpose for the proposed projects, and how they preferred the financial arrangements as well. The next component is a financial projection. The financial section provides the projections of the business overall financial services over the next 3 to 5 years. It also includes the forecasted income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement, and fund flow statement, and the capital expenditure budget. The next component is the appendix. So this section also includes any additional information that supports the data or the statistics included in the plan, like the resumes of the management team, legal agreements, contracts, technical specification, or any other relevant or necessary documents needed to attach with the business plan. The next in the next and important section is a technical analysis. Technical analysis is consists that how a particular firm analyzes the technical and the technological aspects of the proposed idea. It also consists the five sub areas like location selection, technology selection, capacity planning, production planning, and operational planning. The first one is the location selection. It refers to a selection of the place to set up a manufacturing unit or any service center. The next is a technology selection. It is an important fact to handle the routine business activities or operations of the business, and how it managed the overall records, the records related to the order processing, how it managed the stock level or inventory level, how they manage the overall database of the customers and suppliers, or any a strategic role of the internal communication, the cost tracking, and how it could manage the huge manpower and of course connected with the customers and suppliers. The next stage is the capacity planning of the technical analysis. Capacity always refers the maximum output that a business can produce with the available resources in a given period of time. And it is always reflects the number of units in a which could be to serve as a standard tool for a capacity measurements. For example, 100 shirts per day or 200 you can say dishes per day. A company must assess the capacity leads to lower the operational efficiency. And if it is under capacity, then of course the under capacity utilization, the company may lose the earning opportunity. So it totally depends that whether the company could earn depends upon the capacity planning. The next component or a stage is a production planning. It is applicable to any business organization or to all business organization who involved in manufacturing activities. The entire process may totally depend upon the flow chart or the process chart, and the machinery and equipment is always needed to perform the manufacturing process in an organized manner. As as the ready reckoner, a table is always indicates the name of the assets, the price of the assets, the life of the asset, and of course the tentative name of machinery or any equipment, and the supplier may be incorporated at the end of the production process. And the last is the operational planning. The sequel step describe that how, in what way the flow of goods and services has to be done from production to customers. Then the company may also highlight that what quantity of raw material is required, how much is to be manufactured, and how much it to be stored at the warehouses. So it could also maintain the inventory control procedures, and of course maintain the safety and security of the stock. A stock register is to be maintained, which act as an effective tool of the inventory control, and it may be prepared using the most popular method like LIFO, last in first out, and FIFO, first in first out method. This storage is also needs the overall security and the cost of the same, which also mentioned in the operational planning as well. The next section is the environmental analysis. An environmental analysis is also called the environmental scan, which is termed as a strategic tool which used to identify and assess all external and internal elements of the business environment. It also examines the organizational and industry factors that can positively or negatively affect the business and, of course, its success too. So, it is equally important to examine the environment and how it would be a long term or a short term impacts on the environment and how the organization respond when such situation or influences occurs. This concept is also assist the organizations to define the factors that could also influence their business operations, and by putting up a more weight on elements of scanning of the environment, they can also see the trajectory of the business given the circumstances or situations, and such approach is always allowed to develop the strategies, take up an advantage of opportunities and reduce the threats. The next section is components. Environmental analysis consists of two major components: internal factors and external factors. The first one is the internal factors. These components always ask the organizations to look inward. They also examine the organization among the strongest or the weak points based on its mission and vision. And such factors is always allow the businesses or organizations to reflect on their direction and plan in a set period. It may be the 5 or 10 years. The next factors called external factors. On the other hand, external factors refers to a high level consideration that always exists outside the organization. It could be creditors, it could be the agencies of the it could be any technical environmental agencies, etc. Examples of the environmental analysis as the environmental impact assessment for a new highway. When planning the construction of a new highway, an environmental impact assessment is always essential to evaluate the potential environmental effects and ensure the sustainable development. And in this way, the environmental impact assessment team is collect the data on the local ecosystem, water sources, quality or a noise level. It also includes using the GIS to map the sensitive areas and accordingly conduct the field survey to document the wildlife and installing the air and noise sensors. Then the next stage that the team could analyze the data. Using the statistical analysis and predictive modeling, the team assess that how the highway might affect the local flows, flora and fauna, water runoff patterns, air quality. They expose the, you can say, the scenarios such as the increased traffic and the potential pollution. The next is mitigation measures. Based on the findings, the EIA proposes the mitigation measures such as the wildlife corridors, the noise barriers, water management system, and such measures are also set to minimize the negative impacts and enhance the highway environmental compatibility. What are its types? The first one is a pestle analysis, SWOT analysis, Porter 5 forces, and the last one is the business opportunity guidance. So let's have an overview of all of these types one by one. So the first one is the pestle analysis. The such concept, or in other words we can say it is a shorter form of the pest analysis, which evaluate the factors that can influence the business directly or indirectly on the larger scale outside the organization. It also provides a tool, a strategic tool to the organization to with insights into the market status based on the high level trends concerning the market, with the customers, with the suppliers, with the technologists, etc. If the company successfully monitor the pestle factors, it can potentially gain advantages over its competition and increase its sales. Conducting the pestle analysis about every you can say 6 months, it helps the management or businesses to stay updated about the current events and develop the strategies accordingly, and the most important, to conduct the market research. So paying a careful attention to pestle factors can also enables the businesses so that they can improve their products, services to meet up the customers' demands. So here as an analysis of the pestle, the P stands for political, E stands for economic, S stands for social, T stands for technological, L stands for legal, and the E stands for environmental. So let's have an overview of all these components of the pestle analysis. The first one is political. So it is important for the organization to examine the local, state, federal government policies, trade rules, tax regulations, and so on. The first one and the second one is economic. It refers to unemployment rates, economic growth rates, foreign exchange rates, inflation, recession, interest rate, etc. The next is social. It also refers to a demographic trends, consumer buying patterns, wealth distribution, attitudes and opinions, and the brand recognition, and so on. The next is technology. It also refers a new technological discoveries and products, research, development areas, and of course the incentives for the technology. Next is legal. It refers to a health and safety regulation, employment laws, labor laws, product regulations, tariffs, etc. Then, and the last is environmental. It refers to a climate and weather condition, energy consumption, regulation, environmental policy, and more. The next is SWOT analysis. This concept evaluates a business strategic standing based on internal, that could be strength, weaknesses, and external opportunities and threats factors. It also reflects a company advantages and disadvantages based on their strong and weak points, and in doing so, companies can develop a strategies which could maximize the opportunities and mitigates the potential risks. So this is an over chart of SWOT analysis where the strength belongs to a positive side. It refers to a speculation, a unique selling point, resources, and of course we can talk about the costs. Weaknesses, its weak points, it could be limitations that and find out the areas for the more improvement. Opportunities, it always come up to a new markets, strong economy, and of course focus on the emergencies technology or emerging technologies on an immediate basis. Next is threats, is all about the competitors, market volatility, and the changing regulations. This is one of the example of SWOT analysis of Apple. The first one is the strength is a brand, you can say buildness, innovative products, ease of use. Opportunity weaknesses is a high prices, closed ecosystem, and lack of, you can say, experimentations. Opportunity is all about the expand distribution options, create new product lines, technological advancements, and the threats would be a tough competition, even the lawsuits and the international, you can say, issues. So, what would be the SWOT analysis called for as categorized into four main parts: the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, what the strengths refers for? What does the company do best? What is your company unique selling point? Weakness: what areas does the company needs to improve, and what sort of resources are actually they are lacking? Opportunities: what opportunities can you take an advantage of any product based on the strengths? And the threats: what threats do your weaknesses expose you in the market? The next section is the Porter 5 forces. Porter 5 forces are mainly used to identify and analyze an industry competitive forces. Such 5 forces are competition, the threat of the new entries to the industry, supply bargaining power, customer bargaining power, and the ability of the customer to find the substitute goods for the sector products. This model is always guides the business to determine the intensity of the competition, the potential profitability within their market, and helping them to better understand where power lies in their sector. Such model is also meant to critique you perfectly competitive business model and in the real world markets where competitors put are not just rivals, but the firms in specific industries tend to rise and fall together. Next, the main parts or components of the Porter 5 forces, that is, the first one is a competitive leverage. So the degree of competition among the existing firms is always been an intense in the long period, and the rivals can you can say down the prices and profits, and there are various factors which influence the organization. It could be the library include the number of competitors, the rate of industry growth, and the product differentiation. Next is threat of the new entries, the ease of which the new competitors can enter the market. It could be high entry barriers such as capital requirements, brand loyalty, and regulatory uh, policies protect the existing firms from the new entries. Next is bargaining power of suppliers. The power of suppliers to influence the prices and terms. When suppliers are few and other unique products, so of course the bargaining power would automatically increase. That of course that also raise the cost for firms. The next is bargaining power of buyers. The power of customers to demand lower prices or higher quality. Buyers have more power when they purchase in large volume and when products are, you can say, undifferentiated. The next is the threats of substitute. It refers to a availability of alternative products or service that could perform the same function. It could also refer the high threats of substitute which limit the industry profitability that ultimately increases the prices. For example, the rise of digital media has also significantly impacted the print media industry. The next, you can say, section is a business opportunity guidance. So this is you can see the last type, that is the business opportunity guidance, BOG in short. Business opportunity guidance involves a systematic process to identify, analyze, and develop the promising market gaps or needs into a viable ventures. It's mainly focused on all those factors like market demand, competitive advantage, feasibility, potential profitability, which helps the entrepreneur to transform the ideas into the successful businesses. It's all about that how the organization recognize the unmet needs and create the solution, not just having ideas. Let's talk about the common business opportunity areas. The first one is a digital marketing and e-commerce, renewable energy, health and wellness services, software development, cloud kitchen and food services. The next section is what is the plant location. Plant location refers to a choice of region, the area, and the selection of a particular site for setting up a business or factory, and that is exactly called the plant location. Plant layout under the plant location is a plan of optimum management of facility which include the personal operating equipment, storage space, material handling equipment, and all other support services. It also refers to an arrangement and location of work centers and various service centers like inspection, storage, shipping within the manufacturing factory building. According to the rings, the overall objective of the plant layout is to design a physical arrangement in a most effective economical manner which meets the required output quantity and quality. The next section, what are the factors which affect the plant location? The first one is a raw material supply. Production process will continue properly when adequate supply of raw material is almost available. Raw material cost is a part of the total production cost, and when any inadequacy supply of raw material occurs, then of course it reduces the production. It also increases the downtime and hence reduce the efficiency of industry. So due to this inadequacy, profit maximization cannot be obtained. The next is nearness to market. This factor will also produce the product to customer in the short period, and it will also damage at a lesser extent to the product. It also reduces the transportation cost and help the supplier to know the exact requirement of the customer. The next is transportation facility. While selecting a site or a location of the plant, it is important to consider the transportation of any raw material, semi-finished, finished goods should be as less as possible. In order to understand this factor, materials will be transported less, which affect the material quality and of course the cost of production and time of transportation. The next one is a labor supply. Labor is the most effective part of the industry, which not only produces the product or producing the product, but of course it is equally important to choose the site in the most effective manner. And accordingly, the labor should be present in adequate numbers but with low cost. Next is also one of the factor which influence the plant location, that is the power supply. Electrical, diesel, automatic, you can say energies are also required to produce the product and also required for transportation. So for continuous production process to being into regular and sufficient power supply is necessary, and when the supply is lacking, then automatically it influences the site overall. The next and the last is a supply of capital. Capital is also required for the industry for production or day-to-day operation, for the expansion or marketing purposes. And large-scale production requires the large amount of funds. It could be raised by shares, debentures, bonds, etc. Now we can come out what are there are other factors which also influence, that could be the natural factors. The factors like land, water, climate are very important for the industries. The next is a government policy. In particular areas, a new plant cannot be started due to the some rules and restrictions. It could be made by the government, regulations, etc. There are also some industry subsidies and other facilities to support a small scale industry to grow. The next is availability. Availability of housing, hospitality, entertainment, education facility also helps in deciding the plant location. Next is miscellaneous factors are also involved to influence the plant location. The sufficient water supply, danger of attack during war, personal factors, environmental and ecological factors, and the last is the availability of the safety facilities like firefighting and police, etc. The next section is a business process. A business process is defined as a collection of all those business tasks or the activities when it is to be performed by the people and follow a system in a structured manner. It also produces an outcome that contributes to the business, to the achievement of the business goals. A business process is also include at least one out of the list. That could be the task or activity, a system, employees, workflows, data. So it always limited to all these following elements. Business processes are invented to drive and of course contribute to the achievement of the overall organizational goals, and the continuous and repeated execution of business processes is pivotal to successful business operation and growth. Examples of business processes: the first one is the customer service. Customer service is another important business process, could be a part of the global business operation. It also includes the following steps. First, receive customer complaints or issue through customer relationship management. Acknowledge the customer's concern, logging the details of the issue in the CRM system and resolve the issue directly and communicate the status to customers as well. What are the steps involved in the business process design? First, to write down the inputs, output, and the steps needed to achieve the business goals, and each on the separate note. Next, To create the process on the whiteboard, that is either virtual or real, with the post its each note containing the finest and the most you can say gradual steps we can also get down to. Then the next is draw the links between the different steps and how do the process flow from one to the next. And once the initial process mapping has been done, carry out the several workshops to identify any gaps in the product design. What are the key elements of the business process? The first one is the business process management. Business process management is defined as a discipline in operations management, which not only includes the people you can see use the various methods to discover models, but it also you can say analyze and measure, improve, optimize, and automate the business processes. Next is a business process improvement. It is defined as a management practice and to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of business processes, that how the organization is to discover mapping, documenting, analyzing, and redesigning the processes. Next is a business process mapping. Business process mapping refers to a sort of activities of creating a workflow diagram of a process to gain a clear understanding about the process and how it overlaps with other processes, and that is exactly called the business process mapping. It also refers to a formal document and communicate the details of the processes across the company. Next, you can see component is a business process documentation. Business process documentation, it is a process of outlining a detailed description of how a process is need to be executed, and it of course it also includes the techniques and strategies which are implemented by the business to make their process learnable, viewable, and improvable. The next is a business process discovery. It is defined as a set of techniques which not only build a representation of organizational current business process but also focus on their workflows, structures, and elements of the business processes. The next concept is a business process automation. It refers to a practice of using the technologies to automate complex and redundant business processes and workflows. It also helps the businesses to save the manual efforts, reduce the cost, improve efficiency, and optimize the processes performance as well. Next is a business process handoffs. Business process handoffs are defined as a transfer of information, responsibility, or the people to your business from one entry to another, from one organization to another organization. And the next is a business process assessment. Process assessment is all about a systematic evaluation of the organizational processes to identify the strength, weakness, and the areas for further improvement or improvements. And that is exactly called the business process assessment. Next is the next section is to decide about the operations, planning, control, and financing. Deciding on all these aspects constitutes a core of operations management, which translate the strategic goals into day-to-day actionable plans. And this process also includes a holistic, you can say, approach to balance the supply and demand while managing the resources, cost, and risk to ensure the profitability and organizational efficiencies. The first one is operations management and design. That it refers to a daily running, execution, and monitoring the production or service delivery. What are the key decisions involved in it? The first one is a process design, choosing the technology, facility, layout, workflow model it's needed to turn the raw material into finished products. Capacity planning is all about to determine the necessary labor, equipment, resources to meet the projected demand. Location strategy, it aims to decide where to locate facility to minimize the shipping operating cost and remain competitive. And the last one is a supply chain management. It refers to coordinate the sourcing, production, distributors, and of course to include the that how it manage the raw materials. The next is a planning, strategic to operational roles. The forward looking process that determines that what needs to be done, when is to be done, and by whom to achieve goals. What are the key decisions to be considered in this stage? The first one is the sales and operations planning. It aims to develop the monthly plans that connects the strategies across the organization and ensures the supply meets demand. Next is the operational roadmap, transforming a high level strategies into actionable tasks, including you can say timelines or milestones, or you can say how it allocate the resources effectively. Next is a production planning, that is PPC. It's setting up a specific routines, schedules, and volumes for the production to optimize the resource usage. Next is a control mechanism. It's all about to monitor the actual performance against the planned targets and taking the corrective actions to manage deviation. There are key decisions to be considered. The first one is the quality control. It aims to implement the standards and you can say the inspection procedures so that the product meets the quality specifications. Next is the inventory control. It aims to monitor the inventory levels to avoid the stock out or any excess stock so that it reducing the cost. The next one is the performance tracking, using the KPI, that is key performance indicators, or any dashboards to monitor the progress in real time settings. The next one is the budgetary control. It aims to compare the actual expenses against the budget so that they can manage the financial health of the company. The next section is the financing and resource allocation. Securing and managing funds is equally important to support the operational program, balance the internal generation with external sourcing. The main key decisions involved in this stage is budgeting, that how it assign the financial resources to the specific task and team to meet up the strategic objectives. The next is a cash flow statement. It aims to monitor the inflows and outflows to maintain the liquidity, especially for the short term purposes. Next, capital structure. It aims to determine the mix of debt and equity which could be used to finance operations. Cost management. It helps to analyze the financial results to reduce the cost and improve the profits. The next section is how to manage an enterprise finance function. Managing an enterprise finance function, it includes planning, sourcing, deploying, controlling the financial resources, and of course, to maximize the shareholder wealth and operational stability. There are key responsibilities of managing an enterprise finance part include the capital structure decisions, investment analysis, working capital requirements, risk management, and performance evaluation. And ultimately, every monitoring and management part requires the funds rather than kept idle. So these are the key components of the finance function: investment decisions, financing decisions, dividend decision, and liquidity decisions. So let's have an overview of all these components with additional components of finance function. So the first one is the financing decisions. It refers to a capital structure. It aims to determine the optimal mix of debt and equity in order to minimize the cost of capital and easily source the funds from appropriate channels. Next is an investment decision. It called a capital budgeting. It helps to allocate the funds to a long-term assets to maximize the revenue and evaluate the risks involved in the investments. Next is a working capital management. It helps to manage the day-to-day liquidity, which includes the inventory accounts receivable, cash, to ensure the business operates smoothly. Next is a dividend decision. It helps to determine the proportion of profits to be distributed to shareholders and of course the retained earnings for reinvestments. And the last one is the financial control and reporting. It helps to monitor the financial performances against the plans, maintaining the records, and providing data for strategic decision making. The next section is a strategic role of finance function, and the first point is a goal alignment. It is important to align the financial resources with the company long-term goals and strategic plans. Risk management. It is equally important to identify and manage risks associated with the with all those financial transaction, insurance, and investment. Profit planning. It aims to forecast financial needs and analyze profitability, cost, and output volume to guide operational decisions. And the last is a performance evaluation. It also aims to measure the return on investments and overall financial position of the company. Modern evaluation of the finance function. Modern finance function has shifted from more record keeping to acting as a strategic partners in the business, and the key trends are strategic decision support, utilizing the data analysis to guide pricing, cost control, and product line selection. Next is a cash and treasury management. It aims to optimize the cash cycle and ensuring liquidity. And the last is the external negotiation. It aims to handle the financial negotiation with banks and institutions. The next section is how to manage an enterprise marketing function. Managing an enterprise marketing function, it includes the strategic planning, reorganizing, directing, controlling the marketing activities so that they could attract and retain the customers while achieving the goals of the organizations. And it also requires that to analyze the marketing trends, set budgets, manage the brand identity, and utilizing the 4 P's: product, price, place and promotion so that the company could deliver the superior value to the customers. Key aspects of managing the marketing function. Strategic planning and analysis. It aims to conduct the market research in order to understand the customer needs and monitor the competitive landscape and develop a long-term marketing strategies. The next is a marketing mix management, that is 4Ps. Product. It helps to develop, improve and managing the product and service portfolio. Price. Setting up the prices and develop the strategies to set the prices based on the competition and market demand. Place or distribution. Managing the channels, logistic and supply chain for product delivery. And the last one is the promotion. Implementing advertising, public relations, sales promotion are equally important to communicate your value to the customers. The next is the operational execution. Organizing the marketing activities, managing the sales force and direct staff, that how you will perform well to achieve the goals of the company. The next is a control and measurement. It aims to evaluate the campaign performance, tracking matrices like customer acquisition rate, return on investment, and how it make a data driving improvements in the products. Next is a relationship market management. It's mainly focused on the CRM, that is customer relationship management, to ensure the satisfaction and build loyalty among the customers. The next section is managing the enterprise operations function. Managing an enterprise operation functions, it involves planning, organizing and controlling the conversion of inputs, that is material, labor, capital, into outputs, that is goods or services, to maximize the efficiency, quality and profitability. There are plenty of tools or techniques, and of course the responsibility involved, like designing the processes, managing the supply chain, optimizing the capacity, ensure the customer expectations are met through the cost effective production and delivery. Core components of the operational management. The first one is the process design and improvement. It helps to create the efficient workflows, facility layout and continuous to improve the processes to enhance speed and quality. Next is the supply chain and inventory management. It helps to oversee the vendor relationship, purchasing and how it manage the stock level to ensure the timely production. Next is the capacity and production planning. It schedules the production runs, how it balances the resources, that is labor and machine, and forecast demand to align with strategic goals. Next is a quality assurance. It ensures the product and service to meet or exceed the customer requirements, mainly for quality and prices. And the last one is a technology utilization. It helps to implement and maintain systems to streamline the operations and how it manage the processes and enhance the efficiency. Key strategic objectives. The first one is efficiency. Minimize waste and maximize output. Quality. Deliver the high standard goods and services. Speed. Minimize the lead times. And last is flexibility, adapting to change the market demands. The next and the last section is how to manage the enterprise human resource function. Human resource management is one of the strategic approach to staffing, developing, maintaining, and retaining an organizational workforce so that they could meet the business goals and improve the performance of the organization. It also covers the essential functions like recruitment, training, compensation, performance management, and employee relation, which always aims to ensure the workforce aligns with the company culture and strategic objectives. So these are the key functions of HRM. So let's have an overview of all these functions individually. So key functions of the human resource management. The first one is the recruitment and selection. So it's all about to attract, sourcing, screening, and of hiring a qualified candidates to fill the job openings. The next is you can say out sourcing and identity. So integrating the new employees and providing training and development to enhance the skills, knowledge, and performances. Next is the performance management. It helps to set up the goals, monitor the performance, and providing the feedback to ensure the employee output that could be aligned with organizational objectives. Next is a compensation and benefits. It aims to administer the pay structure, incentives, benefit programs to attract and retain talent. Next is the employee relations. It helps to manage the employer-employee relationship, which includes the communication, conflict resolution, and of course, increase a positive work culture. Next is the compliance and safety. It aims to ensure the compliance with the labor laws, regulations, and maintain a safe, healthy, and secure work environment. The next section is the strategic importance of human resources. The first is driving performances. It aims to align individual goals with the organizational goals to maximize productivity. Next is a competitive advantage. It aims to utilize human resources efficiently to gain a sustainable advantage in the market. Talent development. It aims to focus on employee growth through career planning and training. The next is what are the tools required for human resource management. Modern human resource functions are supported by the human resource management systems, which automatic tasks like payroll, applicant tracking, benefit administration to streamline the processes, allow the human resources staff to focus on strategic initiatives. And this is how the human resource management plays a very strategic role in the management areas. That's all for today. Thank you so much for listening this lecture. I will come up to a more interesting, relevant, and important topics in the upcoming sessions. So till time, thank you and namaste to all.